Yes. Okay. So what I was saying is today we are going to discuss about one of the important topic from a coach's perspective, that what to expect from a corporate clients when we are approaching a corporate for a coaching assignment. We should know that what they are looking in when they are hiring a coach, right? And today we have our guest, Vanita. So thank you so much, Vanita, for accepting the request and being present today to share your insights, wisdom, and experience of 30 plus years in the leadership and organization development. And so the floor is open for you to share the knowledge to all the coaches who are present. And just I would like to inform you that we will be having Q&A session at last. We have dedicated 15 minutes for the same. So you can keep your questions ready for last 15 minutes, and then you will get the opportunity to ask them to Vanita. Okay.
And can we, Nams, can we also put it on chat so that the questions are visible?
Yeah, and you can ask questions. Okay, Vanita. So the floor is open.
Great. Thank you so much, Namrata. And thank you so much to the entire coaching journey team. I think this has been quite a ride for all of us. I joined this particular WhatsApp group almost a year and a half back, and I've never looked back. So thank you to the entire team who's working in the back end. Thank you very much. So since I come from a learning and organizational development background, I thought this is something that I would really like to share with all of you who are at a stage where you are approaching different corporates and different clients. So what I'd like to do is, I'd like to do a little bit of in-scoping and out-scoping before we go ahead. In-scope is, I will be only speaking about the part where you will be approaching, or a client would have approached you prior to signing the order. I will not be speaking about what happens when you are negotiating with the HR or with the purchase department after you have kind of got an indication that yes, you're going to get an order. So I'll not be speaking. That's going to be out of scope. Out of scope will also be where you start the coaching journey with the HR, with the client, with the L&D department, with the manager, supervisor, all of that. So we will not be addressing that journey. That's a whole bit of a different discussion. And I think, in many ways, we have covered that while we were preparing for our exam. So I'll be only focusing the part where we will be addressing and understanding who this client is. Second in scope is, I will be only sharing the questions that a client asks. I will not be sharing the answers that you as a coach should be given. Because I feel as a coach, everybody's persona, personality, their own niche areas is very different. My niche would be entirely different from Namrata's, and Namrata's from mine. So I thought, how you would like to approach a certain question and draft your answer, I would like to leave that to you. So I would be taking care of that. Another in scope, and I have added that, and I must apologize to you. When I was preparing this presentation, I realized I am not just able to think like a client. I wanted to put forth what a coach also should be asking. So I will be donning two hats, one as a client and one as a coach. So let me know now whether you are able to see my presentation, hear me clearly.
Yes, we can see the presentation and we can hear you, Vanita.
All right, great. Thank you so much. Great. Moving forward, just a little bit about me. I am currently working with Compliance Wire, a multinational company. Their learning management platform for a company called UL Solutions. I'm their regional manager, regulatory services, and that's really stupefying. And why I brought it up is I was a behavioral trainer and in the learning and development department for many, many, many years, more than 2 decades. And at some point of time, I realized and especially I come from pharma manufacturing, I realized just behavioral training is not going to help. So I slowly moved to techno-behavioral, and I started understanding the organization's technical areas that challenge their people, their processes, and their technology. And I now have converted completely into a technical resource, a global resource for my organization. I've worked with many organizations across the world, UK, US, and currently, Asia as well. I'm not going to talk about what's on the slide. I think, you can go ahead and read that. But I'd like to talk about what really worked for me when I was a learning and development head for over 3 organizations. I had the fortune to build the department from the first brick. And that was the best thing. It was like a greenfield project for me. What really worked was learning was part of my DNA. So I learned about the business, I learned about their processes, and what really challenges them, who are their people, what really concerns them, what are their expectations, most important, what are they looking at 5 years down the line. So these are some of the things that really helped me. Then I loved networking with the senior leaders of the organization, with the board. I used to have personal conversations with them, just trying to understand their perspective of their business, of their people. So that helped me. And since I was a lean green belt, I was also able to bring in a process that even without me, the department should flow. And coaching by itself is a huge process. So just a little bit about me, I thought I'd like to share. I came across coaches, and I started interacting with coaches almost 15, 16 years back. And Praveen Sathe is one of them, who's today a participant here. So I'm so happy to see him here. Through the learning and development department, we had started designing learning journeys for our succession planning, set of leaders, high potential leaders. And that's when we realized we wanted to introduce LDB programs, MDB programs, boot camps, various programs like Bulletproof Manager. And those programs had a lot of training, a lot of assignments, a lot of projects. And the very, very critical part we introduced was coaching. So in fact, my boss used to say, what you're not able to do, you're putting them through a coach. But that's when, my first interaction with coaches began. But it's only now that I got certified as a coach. I really loved working with the coaches. So this is a little about me and my experience in the last 30 plus years. So let's go deeper into the topic of the day. Let's see if this thing is working. Yes. All right. So like I said, I'll be wearing 2 hats today, the client's hat and a coach's hat. All right. I would like to begin with, I want to bring this essence into our discussion today, that a client is going to be sharing their best with you as coaches. Their senior leaders, their managers, their most critical people who have high potential, who are performers of their organization. So their most valuable asset is their people. It's not the property, it's not the capex, it's not the equipment, it's not the process or the technology. It's those people who will only get appreciated as they get skilled, as they get competent, as they get coached within the organization. One of the questions that came to me as a learning and development head was, Vanita, how are you going to justify this budget that you're asking? What will be the return on investment? I said, the guys who stay back after coaching, let's say I put 20 people into a LDP program, and the guys and the girls who stay back are going to be your best delivery managers. And just imagine the cost an organization will go through if they are not being trained, if they are not being coached, and they're just delivering. So I feel you know an organization best if they invest in their people. So it would be a great idea. You as a coach should find out if an organization is investing in their people. So just one small reminder, I'm currently wearing a hat of a client, okay? Moving forward, who are the different type of people who will be approaching you? Who's this client? I'm trying to draw a persona of this client. They can be from the human resources department. They can be from learning and development department. They could be a senior vice president, HR perhaps. They could be the CFO because, coaching is not a very economical journey. It's going to be an expensive piece, especially if somebody is from an LDP journey, then there would be at least 10 to 15 to 20 people that we are talking about. And of course, you would also have the privilege of interacting with the senior most leaders, that is the CEO or the president. Right. So let's understand who's this client. Some of these people that I mentioned just now, they would be influencers, and some would be very critical decision makers. So you should know the difference. Your HR, L&D would be influencers. Your CFO, your CEO, the president, even the SVP HR, Senior Vice President HR, head of the department, would be a decision maker. So you should know whom you are talking to, what you're talking about. Some of them would just focus on getting the job done. It could be just a tick mark. Some of them know what they are doing. I remember when I was first getting into coaching and understanding, how do I use the services of a good coach and how do I bring them into my own life? I was learning, and the coaches taught me. They taught me everything that I put to use later on. So I also became, joined at a very nascent stage. So some of them will know about coaching and some of them will not know about coaching. And we'll speak a little more about it later. They have the people that you want to coach. They have the money, they have the budgets. Some of these L&D guys, HR guys would be open to learning from you. Some of them would love to be part of this entire process, this entire journey, Coaching is not going to be just a 1 month, 2 month affair. You're aware of it, right? It would be 6 months, 8 months, sometimes even a year. And then you want to be recalled. You want to be called back into the organization again and again, right? So always be aware, who are the learners? Who are the ones who are interested in the process and who just want to, kind of just tick it off? Be aware, just understand your client better, right? I would be speaking about 3 different types of people. The L&D, the guy who would be drafting and designing the entire learning development program, leadership development program, the management development program. And we've designed for management trainees. We have designed for graduate engineers. Them also we have got them coached because they're the future leaders. I would also be sharing with you how the HR will think. And of course, the CEO is going to be interesting. And I'm sure all the PCC and MCC coaches in the house are going to love this particular slide. I loved it when I was designing.
Hey, Vanita.
Yeah.
Sorry to interrupt you.
Yeah.
I hope you don't mind my interjecting just very shortly. I have a couple of inputs. One is I had a question, a clarifying question. And second thing is I don't take monologues for too long. I can't concentrate too much. So forgive me for interrupting. My first question was, in your previous couple of minutes, you mentioned about long-term coaching. And then we talked about L&D, senior leader, CEO, right? So these are different groups of people, right? This L&D, senior leader, and CEO are your customer, correct? And then employees are your quote unquote coaching clients. Is that correct?
That's right.
Okay, thanks.
Great. And yeah, good. This was a clarifying question. And in case if I have a clarifying question, please go ahead and ask me. because I'm going to go in a flow. But if you have some other questions related to, the presentation, the thought process that I'm bringing in, I'd like to take the questions at the end of the presentation. So thank you very much. Your L&D people, they'll be your first point of contact. They would be the ones who would be really approaching you. So their kind of questions would be slightly different from a senior leader HR, who would be your second level. And I'll explain that a little in a moment. And then, of course, the CEO would be the last one, because I'm assuming that we as coaches would be coaching managers and above. So I'm sure you would be meeting the CEO as well. Now, why insecurity questions? For a simple reason. You are a stranger for the L&D department. The L&D department head is perhaps for the first time or the second time, designing and implementing a long-term program. So they want to be sure that the whole program is implemented, with successfully. And the person who is coming into the organization is able to carry forward his or her plan of action. And the senior leader, the kind of questions that may come from them, I'm sure you realize that the most critical people of the organization are being handed over to you. So they want to be sure that their important people are in safe hands. Now, if you take a CEO, for example, he would like to know more about you, more about this person, the coach. Why did he become a coach? What is this being of a coach? What inspires you? What works for you? What does not work for you? So his line of questioning is going to be very, very different. So is this good till now? Shall I go ahead? Yes, no? Okay.
Vanita, I would love it if you can, just ping us off and on just to make sure we are awake, and also give you some feedback if we are tracking what you're saying.
Okay.
So just a humble suggestion / input, but your presentation is fantastic. Thank you so much.
Great, thank you. So let's address level 1, learning and development. Again, please be mindful that you as a coach are just not going there to do your, your entire exercise of coaching. You would be, speaking about yourself, about the process, and many other things. And I'm trying to bring in, and this, it may not be limited to just this set of line of questioning. It could be more. So a learning and development head would like to clarify their insecurities by understanding the process of coaching. What is your process? And everybody's process can be very different. They would like to understand the logistics, about contracts, about, timings, duration, etc. They would like to know about changed behavior, and it's up to you to educate them. They would like to know what exactly is coaching all about. I remember, since I'm from pharma and I had a lot of research scientists on board and a lot of PhDs and postdocs. So none of our coaches are postdocs and PhDs, but they, of course, they come from they used to come from very senior profiled organizations. So one of my research scientists at a very senior level asked me, but he's not a PhD. How is it going to work? And will he even understand my process? So those kind of questions will come to you. That what if the chemistry works? And what if it does not work? They will like to ask you about how much time it will take to complete a certain assignment. And it could be up to you, 3 months, 6 months, 8 months. How much time the organization is willing to give you. They would also like to know, have you coached senior leadership? Have you coached managers? A little bit about your experience. And what can they expect other than this? And that's a very wide open window. It's entirely up to you how you would like to scope your coaching, in scope and out scope. And of course, they would love to talk about numbers, budget, and budget is always, they're always short of budget. Moving forward to the senior leader HR. So one good thing I learned from my sales director was that, Manita, if the L&D head is introducing you to the senior leader HR, that means you have been able to successfully cut across the first level. And you're now going to the next round of interview. So that's a good thing. Now, their line of questioning is going to be slightly different. HR, of course, comes from a very different perspective also. And perhaps they may not know the difference between coaching, counseling, mentoring, and therapy for that matter. And sometimes they would know. And they would like to know, why not I just train them? Why have this special coaching sessions for my senior leaders? They would also like to understand how you will ensure the leader changes. And that's a commitment, or let's say, the place, the space where you explain to them what will change, how it will change, who's responsible, who's accountable for it. And they would certainly like to know, how is the senior leader going to demonstrate this change at the workplace? I had one particular situation where one of the leaders didn't like the coach after the 3 sessions. So we had a tripartite meeting and we came to a conclusion that there was nothing wrong with the coach. There's nothing wrong with the client. It's just that, chemistry did not match. So we made a choice and we shifted the coach and we brought in another coach, but we took care of this first coach. So there would be some situations like this as well. And they would like to understand this in the first line of questioning itself. What if it doesn't work? Certainly, what are the benefits of coaching? How can I prove this budget to my management? They really like to understand the return on investment in this entire exercise. Let me see, why am I missing out on the last one? Okay. They would like you to share about your references, testimonials, and now that's entirely up to you how you can share based on what ICF says. They'd like to understand the process, and then, they want to exercise a little bit of their position. They would like to say, can I do this first? Can I do this second? They like to work on the sequencing with you. Now it is up to you. You want to do assessment first, or you want to do it later. You want to do a tripartite review meeting before you begin, or in the middle, or at the end. So it's entirely up to you. I'm not going into that part of it. Okay, so we're just staying with the line of question. Okay, now this one is the slide that I love the most. And this is all about you as a coach. I think the CEO comes with a perspective of seeing the big picture. They understand the organization. They understand their people. They are visionaries. They're leaders. They see how this peg is going to fit into which hole 3 years from now, 5 years from now. So they're not talking about today. They're talking about 3 years, 5 years down the line. So they would like to know more about you. They would like to know about your niche and why you selected this niche. They would like to know about your belief system, your values, and organization values: customer service, resilience, integrity, being able to, bring in the revenue. So how pursuant you are. As a coach, you may need to talk about those kind of values as well. They would like to know, what did you gain out of becoming a coach? And I can list down a long list of areas that I think I changed as a person. They would like to know, why did you choose coaching? Like, for example, I was asked when I entered into the coaching program that, you've been a trainer all your life and you can't stop talking. So, why a coach where you have to listen all the time? So, they would also like to know what you like about coaching and what you dislike about coaching. I mean, one thing I dislike about coaching is sit most of the time. I like to move around. But yes, is there anything else that you dislike about coaching? This is a question that I've asked many, many coaches during interviews. How do you handle egocentric clients? Recently, we were part of an exercise where we were working with 8 senior leaders of a particular IT company. And one of their leaders, they knew is highly egocentric, and they wanted to know how I'm going to handle it. So it's a good idea if you're better prepared. They wanted to know how you're going to handle tough clients who don't want to be budged, they don't want to be coached, they don't want to change, they don't invest time, they don't finish their homework, they don't finish their assignments, they don't show change behavior. How are you going to manage such clients? And of course, they would like to know about your previous experience. They would like you to throw a few names here and there that you have coached. Now, it's entirely up to you how you would like to handle that particular piece, and then, share with them that particular information. I'll take a pause here and then, move forward. If there is something that you would like to say, ask, because now I move to the coach.
Thank you, Anita ji. I have put a question on chat. I think a couple of people have seen it. Would you be also suggesting the best possible answer, or would you just want to share what the...
No. Like I said at the beginning, the answer is your persona, your personality, your approach. And yeah, and it will, the answer would perhaps be connected to your niche. If I'm a relationship coach, or I'm a life coach or an executive coach, or, a health coach, a wellness coach, my answers would be very, very specific around those. So I am not going to be answering. I'm only going to share with you how an organization thinks, the level of people, how they think.
Yeah, understood. Okay, got it. Thanks.
Right, great. Moving forward, I'm sorry, friends, these safe hands are not just a coach. You will be wearing many, many hats. One of a consultant, one of a thought leader, one of a strategist, one of an SME, and a vendor too. Some will consider you just a vendor, come do the job, get out. But some of them would ask you some questions, and that's when either you work out of the space of expert as an expert, or a strategist, or a thought leader. I've always depended on one, taken help from one particular book called Flawless Consulting. And for the last 6 years, I have been a consultant, and it's by, if I'm not mistaken, it is Peter Block. So I think we read a lot of coaching related books. I think it's time that if you're going to be working with corporates, it's time you learn a little about consulting as well. Right. So moving forward, you as a coach have a right to ask questions as well. We can clarify about the process. Of course, you share about confidentiality, accountability, responsibility. You can ask about the big picture if it is already not shared with you. You can ask about how this particular person was selected. And that would mean, is this entire program part of a talent development? I mean, you are identifying certain leaders and putting them through an exercise. Or is it this person is a high performer or high potential candidate? Is he part of a succession planning route? Or you're moving this person into a new role? These are some of the questions you should be asking. There may be sometimes areas that the HR or L&D will bring up that could be addressing certain critical issues that they want their high potential leader to be taking care of, like team development or being able to manage conflicts or even increasing executive presence. And sometimes they may say, do you handle depression? And then you know what you have to answer. You are the best judge for it. So just a couple more questions that I feel you should be asking is, does the leader know that he's part of this exercise? Does the leader know that he's being coached for a critical issue like executive presence or conflict management or team development? Of course, it's a great idea to ask about what are the expectations, what are the goals, what are the priorities? And lastly, as a coach, I think it's very good if you invest your time in understanding the organization and what is critical for their business. A pharmaceutical manufacturing sector would work very differently from an IT sector or from a BPO, or let's say, energy, solar, air, whatever. So different sectors, or maybe even retail for that matter, different sectors, different cycles, different temperaments. There will be many learning and development and HR heads, like I said before, who will not know much about coaching. They I think are your best clients. I began my journey like this, and I have used coaches their services for 15, 16 years now. They can be your long-term advocates. So if you find a baby, invest your time there. Some of the other skills apart from coaching skills that you may need, and it's not limited to this, is you should be a good speaker, great communicator. You should have the ability to influence, invest in relationships. I know some people, like Praveen for that matter, we used to just sit and talk. And he used to, sow some seeds in my mind, which would start showing returns in my conversations with my senior leaders in the organization. And I say, you should be looking out for this. And so invest in building relationships. And of course, not to miss the most two critical skills, that is selling skills and negotiation skills. I think very, very important. At every level you will need, not just with the purchase department. This particular hat on the top is from the brand called Coach. They have bags, they have glasses, they have caps. They just did not come out like this. They have a process that they followed. Everybody wants to be part of the outcome. I think we coaches also somewhere, we want to be part of the outcome. We don't want to be part of the process. But I think once if we have figured out the process, and we have understood the organization, we have learned their language, what pains them, what challenges them, what works for them, what does not work for them. That's when, I think as a coach, you would be learning so much more, not just coaching, but, it'll be easier the next time you approach a client, a corporate client. So we will be wearing many hats, unfortunately. So I'll stop my presentation here, and I'm open for questions.
Okay, so people can unmute and ask the questions. And there are questions in the chat. The first question is, I think Vanita, you have already answered that, how do we approach such egocentric clients, but you have already answered that you're not going to share the answers because it will differ. The next question is, when corporate clients use the word coach, do they mean it in pure Rogerian sense or as another word for advisor? How much time did you have to spend sharing the value of coaching in its true sense?
It can be anywhere between half an hour to many, many hours. I remember one particular, assignment that we had got where they just asked me, I just shared with them, now I'm a certified coach. And they said, "Oh, we need a coach. Can you sign up? Can you get me 4 coaches?" And just out of this group, as a team, we 4 coaches with 103 clients and coach them. So that happened like this. But yes, it takes time. Anywhere between an hour to a few hours, and not just one meeting, maybe a few meetings. So it depends how open they are, willing they are, and how good you are.
So, Vanita, this is Arun. I was want to ask the question. So, I guess where I'm coming from is, do the HR folks really understand coaching in the sense that we've been learning, and is the issue really more with the business unit SVPs who, for example, in my life, I mean, being in the sales marketing area, coach was used as a synonym for "let me advise you." This is not HR speaking. I mean, I was not in HR. So do you see a difference in the way HR understands it and the business understands it?
Yes, certainly. I think HR is very theoretical for that matter, and some of them would have an exposure to coaching and some of them will not. So you will have to get down and speak to them. And even if they advise you, it's okay, just swallow it and finish your convincing part. Now let's take, for example, if you're speaking to a business leader directly and you have the opportunity to speak to a business leader, that's when you get down to the brass tacks. You do explain the process of coaching, but you need to understand what the goals are, what the priorities are, what are the different challenges that they are facing with their people leaders. And I think that's when you get the opportunity to talk about priorities and what kind of behaviors it will start showing up. A little more tangible outcomes. They would like to see tangible outcomes. They will not understand softer outcomes. That is what I understand of people leaders. Good ones I'm talking about.
Thank you. Just to about this, but so you mentioned many hats, right? If you properly set the expectation, you may not have to wear the other hats where you may not be qualified to be an SME or an expert in that industry, right? But you can be a good coach, because coach is a little bit horizontal. You're listening, like you said. So it becomes crucial to kind of set that expectation. And my follow-on question is, do you sign on and take KPIs for behavior changes when it's really upon the coachability of the client that's going to bring out the behavior change? How do you handle that accountability? What do you take on? Because you can't assure the CEO that the leader will change his behavior, because that's up to the leader, right?
Correct. So I like to address that one part of about SME first. So when I say SME, I am thinking from my perspective, my bad, I should have clarified. I'm SME of coaching, the coaching business. I'm not SME of your sector, of your business. I will not be, I cannot be. So when I speak as an SME, I will speak as a coach. As far as the accountability lies, and I think one part of my question covered that when you talk about the process, when they talk about change behavior, then you as a coach will know what to answer, because you have been trained not to take the commitment of change behavior, but give the accountability to the client, to the supervisor, to the L&D, HR, whoever, who's going to be directly in contact with the client, that the accountability lies in their commitment to put in that time, investment, and work towards change behavior. So you know the answer. You know the answer. I hope I've answered.
Vanita, hi, Praveen here.
Hi, Praveen.
So, one of the challenges is that the real life is very different from how the, coaching fraternity operates. So when we are discussing here, we are in a very different ecosystem. The reality outside is very, very different.
Can you be a little louder, Praveen?
Yeah, sure. Is this better now?
Yes.
So I said the real world outside is very different from how the coaching fraternity probably works. Um, so the awareness levels there, the maturity levels, all of those are, probably very different, maybe lower, if one might want to use that word. And so they expect quick fix solutions, whereas logically coaching cannot do that, or
Right.
at least that's the way we have been, trained, and we've been told not to rush things, we've been told not to suggest, and so on and so forth. Whereas in real life, even the coachee says, and there have been cases where I have got this answer. Um, what happened? I didn't get anything from, this session, nothing concrete, because he or she was expecting something concrete as a suggestion, which I had to kind of pull myself back for obvious reasons, because that's how coaching works. So how does one balance this dissonance?
Yes, that's a balance that I think all of us struggle with. And over a period of time, I guess, we will have to keep educating our clients, keep educating L&D and HR. One of the things when I think that worked for me is when we have that tripatriate meeting for the first time with the L&D head and the client. And if you're able to set your expectations clearly, like recently we did this, and still the clients came back and asked us questions of, okay, aap suggest kar do, please, you tell us. Now, it doesn't work like that. We all know about it. So I think the time that you invest in the tripatriate meeting would be helpful. But yes, it's a continuous struggle.
Praveen, this is Guru. I just wanted to check if I can offer you what I do.
Yep.
Um,
Sure, look
because we anticipate this could happen, because especially when you're having a client who you don't know head or tail about, I sometimes when I feel this person is going to come up with some very amorphous topic, which is probably not the coachee's fault, but the subject is pretty amorphous, right? So as a disclaimer, in my opening, other than the usual ethical talk and everything, I also tell this person that, look, how much time do we have? And then the client says I have, say, 25 minutes, 30 minutes. So I usually land up telling them that, okay, you are you comfortable with the fact that depending on what we want to discuss, we may or may not have a proper landing on where you want to be at the end of this 30 minutes, and would that be okay with you? I have found that to be a good thing to do, because then there is the fault A is not on you, and B, the client also. And I always say that if we land up at 30 minutes with nothing in the hand, I'll say, would you like to take this forward for the next session, or if you're okay, we can pause here. So that's one tactic I use.
Yeah. And I think the part where, you kind of quantify the insights that they would have received. I mean, we've learned it during our coaching programs, but yes, sometimes that really helps.
Yes, so keeping eye on the clock, so we can take one more question. We have it in the chat. So how important are credentials and certifications in assessments like Hogan, DISC, etc.?
So I have really depended a lot on assessments. I feel assessments do half your job. You don't have to kind of, so let's say you do see a dysfunction, okay, while you're coaching, and you cannot share that information with the client. So you the assessment does that part for you. You may invest your time in giving feedback, or you can invite a neutral body to read the feedback out, or give the feedback in your presence to the client. So I feel assessments like Hogan, Clifton Strengths, DISC, very, very critical, very important. We are all certified in it. And now it is up to you whether you would like to do a pre and a post as well, or just do a pre. And if you feel the manager of the client and the client, during the entire journey is satisfied with the so-called change behavior, and satisfied with the outcomes, then you need not do the post. But in case if they're not too satisfied, it's a great idea to do the post also. And you can always work out a deal with the vendor of, if you're doing 2 Hogans, which is not going to be cheap, for the same client, if they can give you a better pricing. But yes, very, very important. It kind of sets the line of path of of how you can align the goals, the expectations of the organization and the person's personality.
Sunita here. Just a technical question to the tool you discussed. Even if I'm assuming it's a 6 months assignment of coaching, a pre and post in 6 months will see the difference?
Good question. Sometimes it does and sometimes it does not. But ideally, what I have understood is it's a good idea to do assessment once a year, not twice a year. But very good question. Yeah. So if you have a very, very senior leader, let's say, he's moving from a senior vice president to a CEO's role kind of thing, and they really want to work with him. So maybe, you can do a two assessment pre and post between 6 to 8 months.
Wouldn't feedback I'm asking you, wouldn't feedback be a better methodology to get feedback from peers around him for specific behavior?
So 360 is also a tool that you can use.
Yeah.
What we had done was we had 180-degree, 270 and 360, 270 for a simple reason. We did not want to involve the customers. So we had 360 as well for senior leadership. So we had our own set of competencies that we had identified for the organization. We also embedded some values into it. And we drafted a 50 question kind of questionnaire. And except that it's a very cumbersome exercise for the organization, but you're not involved as an external coach. So the organization takes care of the entire 360 of it. So yeah, you could do a 360 as well, but feedback will still need to be given. And certain competencies would receive higher scores and some competencies would receive lower scores. So feedback would still be given. So it will still give you some path to follow through.
Thanks. My only question was using a assessment tool twice in 6 months may not really change behaviors.
You're right. You're right. Absolutely. You're right.
Thanks.
Okay, so the last question which is there, what are good assessment tools to learn other than DISC? Because it is quite related to what we are saying.
Yeah, Hogan is there. I've worked very closely with Harrison assessments also. Recently somebody else mentioned, I don't know if Sandeep Kalra is there online. He's doing one particular certification. So I can later on maybe post it in the group. So there are many assessments, and we have Ravi Chatterjee as well, who is very good with different type of assessments. But these are the ones that are really popular, Hogan, Harrison, and DISC. Trying to see if I can get hold of Lumina. I think he said Lumina.
Spark.
Yeah, right.
Okay, so thank you so much, Vanita, for all the knowledge you have shared. It was tremendously superb session, I would say. And thank you so much for everyone, for being present. Your presence matter and active participation. So we have the competency as active listening, but today we showed the active participation. So thank you so much for that. Your presence made this session wonderful. I request all of you to please switch on your camera so that we can have a beautiful picture as a memory for this today's session. Yeah. So if all of you can just switch on.
Bye. Raveen.
I need to make my hair.
I got my makeup in place.
Okay.
Hi, Tina.
Okay.
I wasn't smiling.
Okay.
Okay, you want me to click one more?
No, yeah,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
just kidding. I'm
All
just making it.
smiles, please.
All smile, please. Okay,
I'm
perfect.
Thank you, Namrata.
Thank you very much to the organizations, organizers. You're doing a great job, I must tell you. A lot of back-end work, and it's painful, sometimes very, very painful. I trouble Namrata a lot.
No, no, it was not at all. And let me now on behalf of everyone, thank you so much, Vanita, first of all, accepting the invitation and sharing all the knowledge with us. And any last minute thoughts, Sunil, Sandeep, or anyone from community builders would like to hear from you.
I think it's been an awesome session, Vanita. Thanks for sharing and willingly open up on what really happens at the background as a coach. You know, we all get trained to be a coach, but the inside of moving from that learning to be in the business of coaching is a real struggle that a lot of us face. And sharing that inside journey is really critical for a lot of us. Many of them here in this group, I'm hoping they'll come forward and share such experiences. Thank you very much.
Great. Thank you. Most welcome. My pleasure. Completely.
And
Thank you.
for this,
Bye-bye.
just a last minute thing. So for this particular session, as a community team, we selected the topic, but this time we want you to vote for the topic for the next monthly summit. So I'll be running a quick poll over here, and I request all of you to please participate in that poll. For yes, let me know if you can see the poll.
Yes,
Yes.
you can see.
There are 3 questions. You can scroll down and start voting.
Vanita, this is Guru again.
Yeah.
Are you open to being reached out on LinkedIn?
Yes, of course. Yeah.
Okay.
Would love to connect.
I'd like to have some, related conversation, but of course this group may not be interested in that. So
Sure.
I can tell you what I'm curious about. I'm in Singapore and I'm very curious why there's such a heavy interest in all these branded surveys and questionnaires and psychographic tools. I'm really curious to know this. I think I'm just so curious.
You
I don't
know,
know.
when I couldn't afford to buy these tools as a LMD, I made my own tools. When I said 360 and I spoke about it, I have made my own tools. We were able to assess entire department based on the tool.
Why to me समझ नहीं आ रहा? Because I don't understand why are we so sucking up to these Western people here.
Yes,
We incapable of doing our own surveys. I don't believe it at all. I don't believe.
I agree with you. I agree with you.
Anyway, so we'll talk later.
Sure.
Okay, so thank you so much, everyone.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Have a nice
Thank
day.
you so
Bye-bye.
much.
Thanks. Bye.
Enjoy your weekend, guys. Bye.